Just listen. Happy to see you.
See, I didn't know that. Vietnam. Let me see when I tried the video with my present. Thank you.ที่จะพุ่งกล้องที่ดูหน้าคุณนี้ด้วย
This direct, right? No.
Happy to see so many friends, and to get straight to the point, I think our friend Long from Vietnam, he's only here for today, and I know he has some questions, and so maybe we let him start. And I know Sun and Gung also have some questions if he runs out. We let Long start.
Thank you very much for letting me ask question. Actually, a lot of questions arise, but most of them fall away. Ajarn, I'm really concerned about how we know about the living being in reality. For example, in conventional, easily I can say there is Ajarn. Ajarn is alive, but in reality, from here, I just be able seeing and hearing from Ajarn. It means only rupas are experienced. So can I say that Ajarn is alive in reality meaning? Sorry if the question is bad, but I really concerned. In conventional, easily we can say here are people are moving, talking, yeah, but in reality, just rupa are experienced now. So how can we say that there is a chitta over there?
I think that we better study just one word at a time in order to understand it. For example, the word Dhamma. Everyone has heard the word Dhamma, but is there Dhamma now?
Yes.
So there's no one. Because you say that there is Dhamma, and everything is Dhamma. Whatever is real and has its own characteristic cannot be taken for I or anyone at all. For example, seeing, not just you or I or anyone, bird and cat, dog can see. So seeing cannot be anyone at all. Seeing is just seeing. We learn to understand the absolute truth of what appears now as truth as no one. Because seeing is conditioned to arise. If there is no seeing, how can we say that I see or anyone see? So seeing arises from different conditions. It cannot just arise at will, or no one can make it arise at all. But now, it has arisen unknowingly all the time. It means that at moment of hearing and thinking, there must not be seeing. But it seems like there is seeing all around. See, it means ignorance of what is there. So when we study or learn to understand, there's no one because there are only different dhammas. They do not belong to anyone at all. Seeing is not mine or my seeing, it's not yours or birds or cats. Seeing just arises to see. And when we take for alive, our life is the knowing of experience.
Yes. Thank you, Ajarn.
Ajarn, can we say we assume that there is a living being because of what is seen, but it's not directly known?
We have to understand the reality just one at a time as it is, because seeing cannot know that it's this glass or this table, but seeing just experience that which can be seen. Because people think that they see table, it's hard, it can be touched, but the table cannot be seen. What is seen is that which, without that shape and form, there's no idea about whether it's a chair, or table, or people, or things. So we have to understand each reality as it is, because when there are so many realities arising together, it conditions the shape and form of some idea, whether it is this or that. But actually, when we break everything up, there is only just one characteristic of a reality which cannot be, it cannot belong to anyone at all, because now it's gone completely. So that which is gone, is it alive or not alive? That which is gone. But as soon as it does not go away or fall away, yet it's there, living being. Because of that is the experiencing. No, so what we mean alive is that which can experience.
And think Ajarn is also saying that even for non-living objects such as table, we don't directly experience that that's a table, but we make an assumption, it's a convention. So it's the same for a living being or an inanimate object. Seeing just sees visible object. And then there's a lot of thinking about what has been seen. And there are concepts arising automatically based on what has been seen and based on memory.
To further elaborate, when there is seeing, as John was saying, was that we see just visible object, we hear sound, etc. Okay, but then it is the mind, what we call the mind, that interprets what is seen and gives it shape and form because of memory and feeling. So that we look at this and we say, I see that's a table, this is a chair, this is a purse, these are eyeglasses, etc. But in actual fact, the seeing only sees visible objects, sometimes thought to be various degrees of color. Okay? But it is the mind that creates the idea that there is a shape and form to them. So that's basically what we think. We think the thing with the shape and form is real, but it's not. Only the reality that is there, that is perceived by the citta, is real. Okay? So that's basic.
Yes, thank you for your kind explain. Actually, because I listened to the Dhamma talking sometime, so I feel a little bit familiar with what you say. But my question is how can I distinguish the table here is a not living object, and here is my son is a living being. How in reality, just seeing and hearing now, how can I say that this table cannot see and my son can see? Because my son can see, so my son is a living being. How can I say that? Just a rupa experience to the five door sense.
Sanya marks whatever is seen. Like, how is it known this is a glass and this is a table? Because of Sanya remembers that this is a glass, it's not a living being. And Sanya remembers this is Kunnina and this is Ajarn, and this is what we call a living being. So it's because of Sanya it remembers, and there is thinking about this as a living being. Because of Sanya, we know that for this one, there is thinking and experiencing of objects. For this, no thinking, no experiencing of objects. So it's all because of Sanya that remembers what has been seen, that there is thinking in this way or that way. But it's still just visible object that's seen.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. But we start this our life when we were baby, and we live in like a conventional world, and we know this is a person, this is a table, because we learned by concept, and Sanya address the concept. My question is, in reality, how can we say that here is a living being, not non-living being? Just by our five door sense, how can we say?
You know what the difference between rupa and nama? Okay, so we can say that a citta, you know what a citta is, okay. So a citta is a moment of consciousness, okay. If there are no cittas arising and falling, let's say suddenly right here, there's no more citta or cetasika arising, then you would have the concept of a dead body, right? It would be a dead body in the concept idea of a dead body. So it is the citta which gives life to the, if you want to say it that way, it gives life to the realities. Okay, that's basically. And there is jetasikas, that is a jetasika that involves life, but I don't want to go into the names. But basically, without Jitta and Jetasika, there would be no living being.
Yes, I know. For example, I can say I am a living being, but I cannot say other is a living being. You know, it's really difficult to say.
Because, like you said at the beginning, it's only visible object, sound, heard. But because of memory, there's thinking and knowing that what this visible object is different from this visible object, but still it's not any experiencing of the other's citta. It's just thinking and concluding that this what visible object is this one and this visible object is that one.
Yes, yes.
Why don't you ask this question to the table? So why don't you ask this question to the table?
Yeah, I don't ask the question to this table because of in a conventional understanding, I know that it's a not living being, just a normal intelligent, you know. But sometimes I ask question to me in the mirror.
And he answer?
Yes, of course.
And ask question.
Right, from others,
Yes.
right? That's actually the question.
Learn about ultimate reality, we learn about the truth. So by using our understanding about the truth, can we say that there is no citta in here, but there is a citta in here, but we have not yet at the level of direct understanding other citta. So we just know about the five door. So how can
It's
we...
based on our own experience, but Tham said your question is whether the citta of another can be directly experienced. That's your basic question, right?
Yes. Now we cannot direct experience others' citta. So how we can say that they are living being?
And about Samuti Satcha and Paramatta Satcha. So it's true that this is Nina and this is a table and this is living being, this is Samuti Satcha. But now, if we're looking at Paramatta.Dhamma right now, what is real at this moment of thinking like that?
Yes.
What's the reality now of
Reality
thinking like
now
that?
is thinking about
Just
the
the
concept.
thinking.
Yes.
Just thinking. So
Yes.
just the thinking is real,
Yes.
seeing is real, thinking is
Yes.
real. So the Samuti Satcha is no different from before. This was an orchid before, and it's still an orchid as Samuti Satcha's conventional truth. But in reality right now, what is seen is just that which is visible, and it's just thinking which thinks this is an orchid. But still, we call it an orchid.
Oh,
So Samuti Satcha is unchanged. We know what is a living being.
yes.
But right now, in terms of understanding, it has to come back to understanding what appears now, which is what Gern was wanting to
Yes.
discuss also. So
Yes.
otherwise we keep thinking and thinking about Samuti Satcha, but we're all experts already in Samuti Satcha. So we come to understand what is reality at this moment.
Yes, yes.
And then it's clear what is Samuti Satcha and what is Paramatta.Dhamma.
Uh-huh.
Is it necessary to experience the citta of another?
I think not necessary, But if we know about the truth, that would be worthy, that would be valuable.
But we can only know the truth of what appears.
Yes, yeah,
Only what appears can be directly experienced.
right.
So that is now is visible object and sound and
Yes,
heat and cold and those
Yes.
realities.
Yes, yes, yes.
In Nama over there, there's no group of Nama and Rupa here. It's just visible object.
Yes,
Otherwise, we just get lost in a long story about
Yes.
imagining what the other
Okay.
person's thinking and how are they really a human, and forget all about just thinking now as the reality at this moment.
yes, yes,
And when there is understanding of what appears now, just seeing now or hearing or thinking, when it
yes,
is experienced, then it answers all the questions.
yes, yes.
Because you ask, how can we know that's a living being? But you don't actually have any doubt about it.
Yes, no doubt about this. But because I mean, you use both conventional knowledge and reality knowledge. So we kind of combination of the two.
When actually all that arises and falls away in life are the Paramatta Dhammas. So when there is understanding of Paramatta Dhammas, then there is understanding of what is conventional truth. If we don't understand Paramatta Dhammas, like right now, we take or assume the Sammuti Satcha, the conventional truths, to be real. We think this is an orchid in reality.
Right.
But by understanding the Paramatta Dhammas, then it's clear that I cannot experience you or Nina or anyone
Yes, yes.
because only visible objects seen.
Thank
Thinking
you.
only thinks about an idea. That's why the understanding always comes back to the understanding at this moment.
Yes.
And that's why Ajarn asked you about Nama and Rupa right now, what appears now,
Yes.
because that is
thank you.
the answer.
It's quite more clear to me now. Yes. Chị hỏi về gì ạ? Thì vừa nãy trong cái này có nói.
I think Mr. Long yesterday also had a question about what is the meaning of the external object in the context of Satipatthana, like external when it talks about chitta. So what is the meaning of external?
Like now, thinking about what Mr. Long's idea is, thinking about his experience, can there be any direct understanding or awareness of his experience or thinking now? Can there be any direct awareness of what I'm thinking now?
No.
No, but there can be thinking about it. There can be thinking about his idea, what his imagination is about. And at that moment of thinking about what he's experienced, there can be awareness, there can be direct understanding right now of thinking of the external object or the other person. Like if someone starts laughing, I may think about how happy they are, but it's just thinking right
Yes,
now.
yes, yes.
So there can be understanding right now about thinking, whether it's about someone else's chitta or one's own chitta or anything else.
So understanding about thinking is a function of panya.
Understanding whatever appears now, no matter it's seeing, no matter it's hearing, no matter it's thinking.
Yes.
Panya can directly understand that reality. So if it's thinking about the other person's idea and whether the other person thinks there's a living being, right now, seeing, there's thinking. There can be understanding of the thinking at this moment.
Yeah, thank you. Can I have a question about rupa? When learning about rupa, I know about kalapa. As my understanding, kalapa is a concept. It's not reality. And I don't know what is the like a benefit of learning about kalapa, because even there are at least 8 rupas in a kalapa, but at one moment Chitta can experience only one rupa, and the other at least 7 rupas are useless or not. And I even we learn about the kalapa, we have no way to experience kalapa. So why we learn about kalapa? Is there any meaning that I still don't know about kalapa?
It's like we've been talking about chitta, and we know there have to be chaitasikas that arise with it and condition it. And this helps to understand more about the nature of chitta and those chaitasikas. And the same with rupas. Like, why is there thinking now about this visible object as white cloth and this as purple orchid? Because each rupa arises in a group with other rupas, and it's conditioned by those other rupas that it arises together with. So the visible object seen now is different from the visible object seen a moment ago. And it's not for no reason, but it's conditioned that way because the hardness, the temperature, the other rupas in that group condition that visible object to be just that way, not any other way. So by learning more about the different conditions for the rupa that is experienced now, it helps to understand that it's not a tablecloth, not an orchid, not something, not atta, but it's just a rupa that is conditioned in many ways. No one can make the visible object now to be a beautiful one or a ugly one. It just depends on the conditioned nature of rupas that are experienced at that moment. Depends on the rupa that is that impinges on eye sense and is conditioned by the seeing of it, is conditioned by karma, and it's conditioned by the other rupas that arise together with it. So it helps to explain that rupa doesn't arise alone, but it's conditioned by the other rupas that support it, even though only one appears, only one is experienced at a time.
Interesting.
So the hardness that's experienced here is different from the softness here, because even though it's the same kind of rupa, the same rupa is conditioned by other rupas at that moment.
Okay.
So they're not useless.
Yeah, now they are not useless. Yes.
They're all performing their function.
Yes. So let's say the visible rupa, two visible rupa in two kalapa group are different because of at least two factors. The first is the two visible rupa different from each other by themselves. The second factor is that because of 7 other rupa, each kalapa group make them different.
When you say they're different of themselves, they're different because they are conditioned by these other rupas. And then when for example, touching the softness here and the softness here, the softness of the body is different because it has another rupa, jivitindriya, if it's conditioned by karma. So there's more and more detail, which just to explain the conditioned nature of whatever reality is experienced right now. So this is a way to gradually understand that there is no one, no thing in it at all, but just different realities arising by very specific conditions. It's not for no reason that this visible object is one way and this is another way.
Uh-huh. And this minor question is a little bit curious. That is, who can experience 5 rupas in the kalapa at one time? Is that the Buddha can experience all the rupa in the kalapa group at one time? Otherwise, he cannot say that there is a kalapa group contain of at least 5 rupa. 8 rupas. Yes.
Because of the very precise understanding of the Buddha and his key disciples, even though they arise together in a group, and even though only one reality, one rupa appears at a time, but because of the rapid rise and fall in succession, because there has already been the direct understanding of the rise and fall of realities, so it is apparent about how these rupas arise together in a group, just like it's apparent how Chaitasikas arise together with Chitta because of the understanding of the rapid understanding of different realities in succession.
Yes, yes.
And the nimitta of those realities which appears. But I don't know if Ajarn wants.
Yes. So can I imagine that is a kind of puzzle game, that there are different pieces of rupa, and we when it fit together, we can say that it's a kalapa group.
I think we can just say that as we understand rupas, it's enough for me to know that the rupas arise together in a group and they condition each other. If I start thinking, how can I directly know that they arise as a kalapa, then it's like forgetting about this moment and what appears now and what can be known now. It's like we talked about yesterday, being too hungry for results and trying to imagine what advanced understanding is, what it would be like to directly know about the rupas arising in a kalapa when there is no understanding at this moment of visible object appearing. So the understanding has to come back to what appears now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it seems that it's study of Dhamma, but actually as you mentioned, the curiosity
Yes.
takes one away from actually understanding this moment.
Yeah. Totally agree. Thank you so much. Maybe you have a question? No, yeah.
Hello. The first thing I want to add more on the question of Mr. Long, because at first he said that about kalapa is a concept. The first time we learn Dhamma, everything appear by the word and by the concept. But the way is understand the true meaning of these words is better, and come back to some characteristic appear the moment, like the seeing the visible object is something, the key point we must to consideration, because if we follow on the concept and the story of concept kalapa and event nama and rupa also, it also the first is a word, and also it's appear in my mind is in our mind is a concept, but we don't know the meaning of the what is rupa and what is nama, and it's you list to thinking about the kalapa, why we don't understand what really is a rupa, is my point of view, and my question is about some kind of nimitta. When I know that when I see the object, a visible object, and a lot of process of the seeing, process of thinking after seeing, and the leaves the nimitta of the whole, of the shape and of the color. But one thing is this cup still white. And after thinking, I come back, it's still white, and so that the first image of the whole and the second image of the whole appear in my mind is similar the same. It's not exactly the one, but it's similar the same. And it's maybe it's conditioned for some wrong idea that's still a cup still there. And I have a question: what makes the first image, the first of the image of the cup, first and the second later time, it make it sometimes quite similar, and make some like the normal guy still thinking it's a cup and it's still there. It maybe it some root of the idea of self, idea of something still available. But when we learn Dhamma, I know that this only visible object, and this is only the concept is a concept of the whole, a nimitta of the some many Paramatha Dhamma, like visible object and like the sana, everything. But the last and the second, the first and the second give me something similar image in my mind. And I wonder it because the rupa still arise like this way, or its effect from the last sanya to the sanya and to the current sanya make me still feel the cup still there. And it quite complex in the because I know it's a lot of visible object, a lot of process in seeing, thinking, but it's produce something the same image in the mind. And many people think, oh, the cup still there, it's still white, it's still on the table, something like it. And it's I want to make so clear about this point to understand the root, make the wrong view from the normal people.
We make a lot of assumptions based on memory and our experience in life. Like Mr. Long's earlier question about living being. And the same applies to what we see at different moments. So in fact, in between the two instances you talk about, someone may have picked up the cup and then put it back again. But we didn't see that, so we just assume that it was there all the time. But it's an assumption, but it's a normal experience in life, isn't it? That the visible object that's experienced is obviously conditioned by conditions, right? And we don't know what those conditions are, but just as there is a condition to recognize a person that we see now and see tomorrow, and we know that's the same person, it's just normal experiencing, and because rupas are conditioned by conditions, and those conditions are different, but they may be similar to the previous occasion. So it's not anything unusual, right? It's just normal.
Just the experience all day long. There's just the experiencing, the remembering of what's been experienced through the sense doors, and thinking about it, thinking and thinking. And because there's no understanding of the rapid arising and falling away of the different namas and rupas appearing, it seems that there is something, it seems there is a glass, it seems that there is a straw in it, because there's no understanding of visible object now, sound that's heard, thinking, and countless moments of seeing visible objects, but it's not known, so it just seems it's one long series of one long experience of light or colour or something which seems to last. So it all comes back to not understanding what appears now. And it's because of the rapid rising and falling away of what appears that it's the nimitta of what is experienced that is known.
So that's
we have to come back to the
Yeah.
thinking now.
yeah. So that means when we say the same cup is that means the two moments of the two thinking, right?
So
Many moments of
countless
thinking.
moments of seeing visible objects.
Yes.
Absolutely uncountable, and countless moments of thinking of something. And it's just speculating when we say, oh, the thinking is thinking about the same thing that it was thinking about a moment ago. Actually, each moment of thinking and rises and falls away and thinks differently at each instant. So it's just our conventional idea that, oh, I've been thinking about a cup for 5 minutes, or I've been feeling my backache for 10 minutes while I've been sitting here. Actually, it's just a moment. Just a moment of experience through the body sense, just a moment of thinking, just a moment of seeing, many, many moments of different experiences. So nothing lasts at all.
Yeah.
But because of ignorance and wrong view, it seems that it lasts. It seems there is something, someone.
Okay. So
a
that
living being.
means by the sanya, by the ignorance and my wrong view,
yes.
and it's make something appear like still there.
It seems
Okay, I
that it's
understand.
still there because of not understanding, because of
Okay.
ignorance. Yes.
But,
So that-
can I ask, when you are looking at the glass, right, it
Yes.
appears to be there continuously.
I understand that many of I understand in my knowledge that a lot of seeing and a lot of thinking about the nimitta, and I saw the nimitta first, and after that the link to the name is a cup, something like this.
Yes, but I'm trying to understand, because when you look at the glass, there is a period when glass is appearing, right? When you are thinking of glass.
When I thinking glass
Yes,
appear, when I
yes.
see it not appear.
Yeah. But what's the difference between that and the other situation where you say later on you look at again
Yes.
and see it? But it's the same right now. What you are looking at seems to be there.
Yes.
That's the way the world appears.
The thinking things, they just still be there. The thinking things.
Yes, the thinking thinks it.
Yeah.
But it's based on what is being experienced through the eye sense, and also one's memory, that is from experience in life generally.
Yeah.
So the same, what you're asking about, the same applies when you are looking at it now, and it stays there, appears to stay there.
Right, it's still appear there.
And that means that certain rupas are being conditioned to arise.
Yeah. I because before beside of the sana, ignorance and wrong view, I still thinking about it's still some kind of the rupa still conditioned by their way, still there by temperature.
Well, but that's just your thinking about the reason why things appear the way they do.
Yes.
Different from experiencing, isn't it?
That's the same point that we were talking about with Mr. Long, about understanding the distinction between Smuti Satcha and Paramatta Satcha. Like conventionally we can say, oh, I've been looking at this glass for 5 minutes, or I've had a body ache for 10 minutes. Conventionally that may be so, but when there is the understanding now that it's just thinking about seeing this glass many times and so on, then it's clear that it's just thinking at this very moment.
Okay.
Please excuse me. The arising and falling away of rupas is much faster than the I and the thinking and the concept. And ignorance and wrong view condition this also.
Well, it doesn't have to be wrong view to think there's a glass on the table. Doesn't have to be wrong view. It just may be concept, because wrong view is something particular about having an essence or an existence that is, but just having the concept of a glass and a table and a person doesn't necessarily involve wrong view.
I was referring to the sameness of it as if it doesn't change.
And
when you said earlier, like, oh, now I experience the nimitta of rupa, and then this, and then this, and this. What do you mean when you say I experience the nimitta of rupa?
I mean, I understand that when before I thinking the cup, it's a nimitta of a whole of the rupa, nimitta of a lot of rupa and seeing there, and after that I saw, because I know that the cup, and I know, and I recognize it, the cup, the name is.
So what about at this moment? Can I recognize anything? Can
No,
I
not
understand the
thinking, the thinking.
So it's just at this moment when saying I understand the nimitta of rupa right now.
Yeah.
What is the reality?
The thinking.
Thinking.
Just
so
thinking.
Just thinking, not I. It's just
Yes.
a dharma that
Yeah.
arises and passes away, and it can think about nimitta, it can think about rupa, it can think about cup lasting, it can think about anything. But at this moment, it's just thinking about different stories, different ideas. So what is more precious is understanding right now of thinking or seeing, or what is seen, visible object, as Dhamma. Otherwise, it's all about my experience and what I experience. First I experience nimitta of rupa, and then I experience this and this. And it's so easy to forget about just different dharmas at this moment.
Yes. And I have a question. Another question is, we talked about a lot about the rapidly of the arising and falling away of the Dhamma, and especially in the rupa, for example. We don't know about the rapidly like this. But the speed of arising and falling away, with my understanding, it's we don't recognize because of the ignorance, because of shana. But it's quick or slow, it doesn't matter, because ignorance don't distinguish between the first and the last, the first and the next, and the nimitta of each dhamma. The speed of the arising and falling away of Dhamma here, what the true meaning of when we talking about is so fast, because with my understand, it fast or slow, it doesn't matter so much, because the ignorance in here, we don't distinguish between the rin and the nimitta and the whole, everything still complex in the thinking, and ignorant don't know clearly about it. And the speed at the right now, we're talking about speed. What's the meaning when we're talking about it's so rapidly? It's only, with my understanding, it's only the function, it leaves the nimitta, because it's so quick, it leaves nimitta. But the ignorant don't distinguish between the things.
So it's the explanation of why this is taken for being a lasting something, for example. But at this moment, if there is awareness and understanding of visible object that appears, is there any thought or idea about how fast or slow it is at that moment?
No.
No. So at the moment of understanding visible object, or moment of understanding hardness when it appears, no thought about how rapid it is, or how many visible objects there are, or how many nimittas, or anything else, because it's just that which appears. So that's the important point.
Yeah. So
otherwise, one becomes totally lost in one's ideas about how fast and slow and forgets all about what appears at this moment.
With my
Maybe,
understanding, the main point is ignorance. We don't recognize the
if there's
characteristics.
no
what happened.
understanding of hardness that appears now, no need to be concerned about how fast it arises and falls away. Would you like to add anything about how fast or slow?
I just want to talk about what's the point of listening to the truth or the teachings of the Buddha. What is the point? Is it useless or is it useful?
The point is the most important. The most important point is to me know that that's no one, nothing. That's some characteristics appear and arise and disappear. Nothing lasts.
And how can there be such understanding?
To be understanding, we must to listen to the truth by the right way.
Just one word at a time.
Yes.
Okay. For example, Dhamma. What is it?
Talking Dhamma or talking about the
Just
Dhamma.
What is it?
The moment what's up here now is Dhamma.
What is that in a moment which appears?
Characteristics of the what appear. Characteristics of the moment
What
appear.
characteristic?
Like the seeing, the characteristic of seeing and the characteristics of the visible object is seen.
Does it arise, seeing?
It arise and it follow away.
And that which is seen?
Sorry?
And that which is seen or experienced?
The visible object only.
Arising and falling away.
Yes.
So there can be a little understanding of no self,
Yes.
little by little.
Yeah.
That's why that is not enough to get rid of the idea of self at all.
Yeah.
That's why we learn more and more of the moment when it appears,
Yeah.
like now. There is no understanding of the difference between the seeing and that which is seen yet, right? But we just begin to understand that that which is seen cannot experience anything at all, but it can be seen just by seeing. Hearing cannot see it. So how many worlds are there?
How many?
Worlds.
Word. 6 words.
What are they?
It's the one of the visible object, the one of sound, the one of taste, the one of smell, the one of touching, and the one of appear in thinking.
Just one moment at a time,
Yes.
right? So just talk about one reality at a time. Which one you'd like to talk about?
Yes.
Which one?
It's the seeing.
The
seeing
seeing.
and the visible object, the color, something like that.
What is the character of that which arises to see?
Characteristic of see.
What is the characteristic of that which arises and see, just to see?
The characteristics of the visible object is of seeing. Of seeing is either they can experience the visible object, that, and they leave these characteristics to the another sister.
Does it see now?
Yes and gone.
Okay, that cannot be known now,
Yes, it cannot be known now.
but it's true.
Yes.
So we begin to understand that each reality is not self, it's not me or mine, or it doesn't belong to me at all, no one at all. This is the way to not forget this moment as it is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just take the idea of something from that which is seen, heard, and so on, so rapidly. Not enough condition to understand that which now sees as it is, as not self.
It's still only thinking about the seeing already past.
Mhm.
only thinking about the seeing a person, something like that. Everything is a story right now.
So with the understanding very firm about there's no one at all, it will be, anytime we heard about this, it conditioned the understanding of no self. This is the most important thing. Not me, who hear, who see, who even understand. Otherwise, it's just I who understand this or that now and then, but actually there is still the idea of self.
Yes, I understand.
And you talk about Satipatthana. Someone, you are.
Still low level of understanding.
Okay, that's good. Because I've heard someone just ask about Satipatthana. No, not at all.
About the external object.
External object, yes.
Yeah. So what is the external and what is the internal?
Internal first, because maybe it is easier. I think internal is the five khandas arise and falling away rapidly here.
What about the moment of seeing?
The moment,
The moment of seeing, the internal and the external.
The moment of seeing, the visible object is external. The seeing chitta is internal. Other Chittasika arise together are internal object.
Very good theoretical knowledge. Yeah. So, can there be the understanding of that which appears now as not self?
Yes.
How?
Intellectual understanding.
Or who? Or when?
Because there is no self there, just a visible object, the seeing consciousness, and the Chittasika. And what is self? Cannot define what is the self.
Yeah. And this is the understanding of memory or sanya. Just talking about the external and internal.
Understanding of sanya.
Like now when you're talking about these different realities and internal and external realities, it's because of sanya, because of having read and considered and remembered what has been heard.
Yes.
So because of sanya, there is this thinking.
Yes, sure. Yes. Sanya appear every moment.
Appear?
Arise.
Yeah.
It appear to panya only, right?
Yes.
It arises but appear to panya only.
Mm-hmm. So we just say what is external and what is internal, but it's not the direct understanding at the moment when it appears. This is another level of understanding.
Yes.
Otherwise, we just keep on talking about like we know, but at that very moment of experience, when there is the moment of being aware with understanding, it has to be with understanding, that can bring about the little understanding of what it is as external and what is internal.
Yes.
That should be developed little by little, not just know what is external and what is internal.
Yes. So, thank you, Ajarn. Come back to the question. I want to express it in more detail. That as the example of seeing the visible object is external, but can the external object be chitta? No. I mean cheetah from another Kanda, not Kanda here.
When we talk about that which appears, there should be the clear understanding of what is there as not self.
Yes.
For example, now we see people and things all the time, but we say that what is seen is visible object. So the understanding at level of intellectual understanding is not enough.
Yes.
But it will bring little by little to understand. So all the teachings of the Buddha will bring about understanding little by little about what is said or what is heard from theoretical knowledge.
Yes.
Even if panya develops and it's understand what appears for panya, our panya is not the same as for the Buddha's panya. So for the Buddha's panya or those who had attained high jhanas, it may be the other's citta. But even if there's panya at this moment, there cannot be any direct understanding of the other's citta, only thinking about it.
Oh, yes. Thank
So
you.
we don't say it's not possible because it depends on who we're talking about, whether we're talking about the Buddha or his disciples or our limited understanding and what appears.
Yes.
Like even if we say sanya appears, does sanya really appear at this moment, even if there's understanding?
Yes. Thank
Does
you.
what is seen now appears well?
Sorry.
Now there is seeing, right?
Yes.
And what is seen is just visible object,
Yes.
right? Does visible object now appears well?
Not appear well, because we don't know where about it directly.
Right. So even just one word, there should be the understanding of the difference between appear and appear well.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Pana no.
Panya. So without panya, it's just the only, just word.
Yes. Only thinking about it.
And is it easy to have the visible object appear well?
Not easy.
Not easy. How long it will take?
Aeon to aeon.
That's
Because
right. That's right. Why?
Because ignorance is so much, and we wrong view a lot.
Because there's no self who can do anything at all. It depends on listening, hearing, understanding, little by little.
Yes. And I have a question. In the five sense, we are usually use the word visible object imping on the eye sense. Imping, that means they meet the occasion. They have an occasion to meet together. But on the mind door, and the object is maybe some the nimitta, and I don't know how to use the sister in the mind door meeting the nimitta, or what word and what's the true meaning of the meeting between the object of the in the sister in the mind door. In five sense we can understand that it's an occasion to they meet together, or they interact with each other in characteristic visible object and eye sense. But I'm not clear in the mind or what still be there when they touching each other, especially in the nimitta.
So just on the point about appearing well, so this is just referring to moments of satipatthana when there is direct understanding. Only then does the reality that appears appear well. And on this point, so we know that for a moment of seeing to occur, the visible object must have impinged on the eye sense. Like you say, you can say it's associated or met the eye sense. There is the coming together of the inner eye sense and the outer visible object at that moment. Otherwise, seeing couldn't experience that visible object. And after the other cheetahs have experienced the visible object that has impinged on the eye sense in the eye door process, And then, as we know, there are some Bawanga cheetahs, like I know we talked about this in Vietnam, and then there is the mind door process, and that characteristic of visible object, the visible object itself has completely fallen away. It no longer impinges on eye sense. There is no more visible object because it's gone, but its characteristic appears to at least the first process in the mind door. So actually it's the nimitta of visible object, because the visible object has gone. So the visible object doesn't impinge anymore, because it's just the nimitta of visible object, which is experienced by the citta and various cetasikas, usually with ignorance or attachment, but can be with awareness or understanding. So no more visible object that's impinging in the mind door. So usually in the mind door, the object of most of the cittas is a concept or an idea after the first mind door process. But we don't say that concept impinges. It's just experienced by the citta, because it's not a reality. It doesn't arise, it doesn't impinge, and it doesn't fall away. It's just imagined by the citta.
But when we learn, we know that it's a heart base, and there is any characteristics imping or associates with the heart base, like the visible object and the eye sense, and the heart base is for the mind door. So that means we don't use the word imping on this mind, in this case mind door. It's only the sister experience the nimitta on experience the concept, something like this. And how about the heart base at this case?
We're getting a few different aspects mixed up a bit. So when the visible object impinges on eye sense, eye sense is the base for the seeing to experience that visible object at that moment when seeing arises. And for the other cittas in that eye door, heart base is the base where those cittas arise. That's all. And in the mind door, for any of the cittas arising in the mind door process, heart base, the Hadiya Watu, is the base where those cittas arise. That's all. So nothing to do with impinging.
So in the case of nama being experienced in the mind door, for example, feeling or lupa or dosa, we cannot say that there's any impinging. It's just experienced, right?
It's just the aramana, it's just the object that is experienced. So the impinging just refers to where the sense objects impinge on the sense basis. We don't say that Vedana that is experienced as object in the mind or impinges on the heart base. We just say the citta arises at the heart base, which experiences the Vedana.
So what's meant by heart base, base, not just heart base?
The base means it's a rupa, and it's called one of condition for the arising of some citta. The base. With my understanding, it's a big. We don't know exactly the base, but we know the citta arise, and so we know that there must be the rupa called the base.
Can the citta arise outside, not at the base?
No, it must be have the base.
So we can know what citta arises at what base, right?
Yes.
So what is the base for seeing consciousness to arise?
It's eye base. Eye base, that means the rupa for the base for condition for the eye consciousness arising.
And what is the difference between the vara and the vatu? Vatu means the basis for citta to arise. And what is the difference?
It's the difference between is the door is It is through this door the process of sister arising. It's a condition for the process of which kind of sister arising, like the
And-
door of eyes, the door of ear, something else.
How many doorways?
There are six door.
Okay, what are they?
The door of the eyes, eye door, ear door, nose door, tongue door, body door, and also the mind door. The mind door is not a rupa. The mind door is a new nama.
What nama?
Bhagavanga sister.
Pawanka?
Bhagavanga sister. Sister,
Okay.
it's a sister.
The last Bawanga
The last
Chitta
one.
before that.
The sister before the mind door arising. Mind.
Can the heart base be the mind door?
No.
Why?
Because the mind door not the base for the arising of the sister. It's only the condition for the starting the new process of the mind door process. It's not the base for the sister and sister arising.
And what is the reality of the heart base? The reality of it. What reality is heart base?
It's a rupa.
What rupa?
The rupa have the characteristics, have the function is based of arising of the sister. And I read in the book is maybe some blood in the heart. It's not exactly, but I just understand that it's the rupa is based for the sister and sister arising in the mind or process.
Is that heart base? Is that heart base?
It must be, because if we have the thinking and it must be.
What the exact rupa is that? Which is the heart base?
I don't know. I just know it's the rupa conditioned by the karma, and I don't know exactly, but it's produced by the karma, past karma.
Can the heart base be the heart doorway?
No.
Because one is rupa and the other is nama.
Yeah. Only the my door is a door. My door is a nama, not a rupa.
So at a moment of seeing, like you said, the eye sense is the base, the vatu, and eye sense is also the dwara, the door, the
Yeah.
means for that chitta to experience visible object. What about the other chittas following seeing in the eye door process? What is the vatu and what is the dwara, doorway?
Following the eyes, the eye sense process, the door still the eye sense, but the vatu is different. Only the eye sense is a vatu is a eye space, and the next one is only the heart space.
Right. And so for the other chittas in that eye door process, when they arise, is the visible object still impinging on the eye sense?
Yes.
So the visible object is impinging on the eye sense, even though the chittas are arising at the hadaya watu.
Yeah.
So the impinging on the eye sense is one thing, and the chitta arising at the hadaya watu is a different thing.
Yes.
So in the mind door, they arise at the hadaya watu, so nothing to do with impinging on any sense.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
two different.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Is it beneficial to understand this?
Yes, because make me know that every consciousness and they appear by the process, by the condition, and by the by the law. After this and after this, and they must to by the condition of eye, by your eyes, eye door or something like this. It's not eye. It's not something control the appear of them, and they appear by their condition. The meaning of know about the process is that means the no eyes and the condition and the law of the nature here, and we know it and we consider it in daily life.
It's useful when That is the understanding that it's no self from the very beginning.
Yeah.
To understand better and better that actually there's no one at all.
Gung had a question about appearing for Ajarn. I think it's useful at this point to, and maybe for those who find this quite detailed, maybe it's good to have more basic.
Yeah. Ajarn, we in Vietnamese group has been discussed a lot about the reality that arise or appear, and today you also mentioned about the appear well. Then could you please have to elaborate more about the reality that arise or appear and appear well, or even arise well? Yeah. And Thambet also mentioned about only reality that appear now can be understood.
We cannot say that it appears well because it arises and falls away in split seconds. Only when Panya understands the characteristic, at that moment it appears well to Panya to show itself as no one there at all, only that characteristic which is anatta. Just by condition, no one make it arise at all. This is the way right understanding develop, not I am developing at all, but the understanding from moment to moment develops to understand reality as it is. That's why we keep on hearing and considering what is heard in order to understand the difference between when it does not appear well and when it appears well. Without Panya, it cannot appear well at all.
We discuss about the reality that appear, that means the reality that can be experienced by Citta. I want to just clarify that point.
So at this moment, visible object is experienced by seeing consciousness, by the citta. But when we talk about appearing, it means, is it known? Is there any awareness of it? Or countless moments of seeing arise and experience visible object, but nothing's known about it. That visible object doesn't appear because there's no awareness of it. So if one hasn't heard the Buddha's teachings, even though the realities, the Paramattha Dhammas, are exactly the same, but they don't appear. And so they appear well when there's direct understanding. But before there's direct understanding, there has to be the development of the understanding of what are the Paramattha Dhammas, so there's no confusion with the conventional truths, and it's clearer that what, in theory at least, what are the objects that can appear, that can be known. So when we mentioned sanya and whether sanya appears, so even now if there is understanding, what appears? Hardness is common object, sound is common object, visible object is common object. But is sanya common object appearing? Is phassa common object that appearing? Actually, it's just thinking about it.
It is, you mentioned about its arise, but it not appear now, right? That's what.
So, sound now, it's experienced, but is it known? Does it appear? That's all. Does it appear as sound? Or does it just arise and be just experienced by attachment and ignorance as usual? Or taken for something instantly, so it's not known as just sound. It doesn't appear as Dhamma. And this is why Ajarn was saying, what is Dhamma? So in the beginning, there has to be the understanding what is Dhamma, otherwise no Dhamma will appear for sure.
Because when we are listening to another person speak and understanding everything they say, that is not what is meant by sound appearing well. Sound appearing well is a way of explaining, of referring to a moment of awareness of sound as just sound. That's all.
So Ajarn often reminds us it is known as a reality, and we can repeat it, these words, but it doesn't mean it's really clear, and that depends on Panya, on the level of Panya.
That's why Panya develops gradually from moment to moment. See, each moment is very valuable, very precious because it's brings. But by remember whether it appears well can be so very truthful that how much understanding is there.
And yesterday we were talking about waiting for Panya, and Sarah gave such a good reminder that it seems like me and my ignorance. I like to hear it again. It's so good.
Sometimes we think because we've heard quite a lot about Dhamma and we know that what's most important in life is the development of understanding, eventually leading to the eradication of defilements, as someone said. So it's very easy to assume that when we're thinking about more understanding or waiting for understanding, that there's something kusala about it. But actually it's a cheating Dharma, because when thinking about understanding that hasn't come yet, or thinking about what it would be like to experience the kalapas in the future, the reality at this moment is lobha, and usually the concern is for me, myself. Who cares about whether anyone else has more understanding? But it's all about imagining what the understanding would be like for me. So behind it, there is the idea of I and my understanding. Otherwise, there wouldn't be thinking about how much or how little or when it will come.
I have a question. When I read the conversation between Ajarn and Bhikkhu Bodhi in India, Ajarn said that skillful is a function of the Panya, skillful of Panya. But I have a question about the Panya. With my understanding, two kinds of Panya is the Panya about the difference between Kusala and Akusala, and the Panya, and the second one is Panya knows the characteristics of the Paramatha Dhamma. But in conventional life, we have some guy very skillful in the cooking, in the do business, some, for example, in the law or something like that, and they still very smart, and they have a very advanced to the another. And I little bit, if not talking about the Paramatha Dhamma, it's only the skillful on some object, on some story and some situation in life. It can be the Pana or not, or it's only some behavior in some accumulation or vitaka, something from this guy. I don't really don't so much about situation skillful in the daily life. It can be the Pana or not, if not relate to the Akusala and Kusala or the characteristics of the Paramatha Dhamma. It can be not.
Usually when we talk about skillful in daily life, like skillful in designing the microphone or Siri or engineering or cooking or medicine or anything, usually it's lobha that is we're talking about. So actually everyone is already an expert in lobha, so it's quite different from the skill of panya that we're talking about when we discuss about Paramatta Dhammas. It doesn't mean that while cooking or while designing the microphone or Siri that there cannot be moments of panya if one has heard and has an interest in studying dhammas. But generally speaking, what is called skillful is just the accumulation of lobha.
And because it appears something I face in my life, because I think that some skillful is not leading to the truth, but it needs to the life. And also sometimes I have a conflict in myself, and
it's just like the same question and same answer to Mr. Long about Samuti Satcha and Paramatta Satcha. The more understanding of dhammas, the less conflict there is, because then it's understanding what is Samuti Satcha, what is Paramatta Satcha. So one lives life normally as an engineer or cooking or however life goes, but there can be understanding anytime, because there are dhammas at any time. Like some people like swimming or deep sea diving, or we all have different interests, different likes, different ways of earning a living, but there's still just seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and thinking. There can be understanding anytime, but don't confuse the skills, the conventional skills, with the development of panya.
So there's another mental factor, chanda, which is having an interest in the object, and so this obviously plays a role in developing skills, having an interest in the particular skill or field in question. But the point is that one can be very skillful conventionally. It doesn't need kusala to be skillful conventionally. It doesn't need kusala of any kind, let alone panya, to be skillful at playing the piano or intellectually, being skillful intellectually in a particular field.
But like the sense of being skillful in the worldly things, it must also come from accumulations, right? Kind of, yeah.
And said different interests, different abilities. Like some people are very skillful in arranging flowers or cooking or tapestry or whatever. It depends on interest and aptitude, but may not be any kusala involved at all. But when understanding and awareness develops, those same interests can continue, but with more understanding.
Just wondering about in the section about panya in the Visuddhimagga, they also mentions about these skills in the worldly things. Yeah, so why is that so?
Mangala Sutta about skills, but this is with understanding. So it's like it's a blessing to have particular skills, but with understanding. If it's with our kusala chittas, it's not a blessing at all.
And just coming back to Mr. Long again, because you again brought up the question of directly experiencing the citta of another a minute ago. So I'm wondering why you are so interested in this particular issue, because now you've brought it up in 2 or 3 contexts.
Yeah, I have that question because at the beginning I concerned that it's not true if I say that here is a living being, because just I experience the rupa from that khanda, that 5 khanda. So I think if someone say here is a person, he in reality he must be able to experience their chitta. Otherwise, he cannot say that is a nama and rupa over there. Do you know what I mean, John?
If someone has never heard, let's say, I've never heard anything about the Dhamma, I've never heard about namas and rupas.
Yes.
I just lived in my own country, I never came across the Buddha's teachings.
Yes.
Could I still know that here there is living being and here there is not living being?
Yeah, you can know most of the case, but not 100% true.
I think it's just exactly the same. So
Yes.
whether there's understanding or not, just the
Yes.
same. Like
Yes.
sometimes without understanding or with understanding, one might make a mistake. One might see an ant on the path and think it's a stone. So it's just the same whether there's understanding or no understanding.
Yes,
No,
yes.
life carries on exactly the same.
Yes.
Same kind of mistakes and same, one might think this is a plastic rose when actually it's a real orchid. So it's just the same with or without understanding.
Yes.
One might give these two men the wrong names, just the same with or without understanding.
Yes. So Sarah, you know, if let's see in the future, like 50 years, the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the robot, they can make something look really human-like and have a artificial intelligence inside. And in conventional thinking, the people in next 50 years will really easy to be confused that is the living or not living being, you know. Now can easily say that it's a table and here yes.
Actually, this isn't about, it's like the Siri question, like someone might think it's a real living person speaking. So it's not actually about dharmas because it's just the same no matter whether there's understanding or not. One may get confused by Siri or take the robot for being real. But even at those moments of being confused and making mistake, there are dharmas. There can be understanding at that moment. Even if someone has dementia and forgets everything about what's gone on and very confused about where they're going, there's still dharmas. There can still be awareness. So
Yeah.
it doesn't depend on the conventional knowledge or the conventional skill.
Okay.
So it's similar if one
Taking one away from this moment.
it's similar if one sees an animal on the ground and you can't tell if it's dead or alive.
Mhm.
There's no way of being sure, is there? Or there's no way of knowing the moment that a person actually or a being actually dies, even if one is present, because the jitta can't be known.
Yes.
No one can know the exact moment of death.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
At moment of touching the hand or some part of the body, is there any idea whether that which is touched living or not living?
At the moment of touching,
Yes.
rupa is experienced, and then through the Maida process, sanya will provide the information, so we'll have an idea about the living object.
Just at that very moment of touching, what
No.
is touched? No.
Yes.
So we begin to understand the difference between that which touch, which experience hardness, and that which is hardness. To understand the difference between the two, to understand clearly the difference of nama, that which can experience, and rupa, no matter it's here or where, it cannot experience anything.
Yeah.
In order to understand that actually
Yes.
that hardness is not me and the experience not me. Only different realities arising.
Yes.
Otherwise it cannot be experienced.
But it's a really difficult. It's
But
a really
there
difficult.
is thinking about that, whether it's living or not living. But that is not the understanding of the difference between that which experiences and that which cannot experience anything at all.
Thank you.
When you say it's difficult, it's more difficult. It's more difficult when there is imagining what it would be like and how would it know whether it's human or not, because it's distracting. It's taking one away from just understanding what appears now. Like if one's thinking about, oh, where does this hardness arise, or is it part of the body, or is it human or not? It's not understanding just that reality of hardness when it appears.
Thank you.
So we talk a lot about the word of imagination, which is not true, and what is true in the absolute sense, and it's so very essential to know the difference. So Ajarn helps us all the time to bring us back to this moment, the difference between what experience and what does not experience, because all the time we start to speculate, is it this, is it that, and that brings us further away from the truth. So that doesn't help at all to know the truth. So the only way is really to understand more at this moment.
Thank you.
And sometimes we think that collecting all the details and working out all these points or all these topics of curiosity is somehow related to the pariyatti understanding. But the pariyatti understanding isn't about just collecting lots of words and details and labels. It's about the understanding of what appears right now. Otherwise it can't lead to the direct understanding.
Yes, yes.
So it's very easy to fool ourselves that this kind of study is pariyatti, but if it's not about what appears now, actually it's not the path.
Thank you. So may I have a question about rupa? Rupa arise appear now. You mentioned about the heart base, the heart base. If it talking about the eye base and map it to seeing, the ear base map it to hearing, it would be easy because there is a linking in the meaning. But for the rupa that we call it heart base, why we don't call it mind base or brain base or some other word? What's the meaning of heart in that word?
The chitta needs a physical base in this world of the five khandhas, but it doesn't matter really. It's called heart base. There are some theories, and some people think it's near the blood of the heart, but it's not important. It's just a physical base of chitta, because our life is nama and rupa. So it doesn't matter about the word. We should not get lost in words, but just the meaning.
Thank you, Nina. Yes.
Like we said before, it is the base, the vatu, for all the chittas other than the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. So it is the base. So we can call it, you can call it whatever base you like, mind base or anything. But
should understand what it is.
yes, it's a very subtle rupa. It doesn't appear now.
Thank you. Maybe other one have a question.
I just have one question. There are planes in which there is no rupa, only mind, so you don't need a base for the mind, right? And I also read one time, I don't remember exactly where, that in the early texts In the very early text, it's not mentioned a base for the chitta, for the human chitta.
So in the Arupa Brahma realm, where there are no rupas, then it's not necessary for Hadayawatu to be the base for the chittas. So that's why it's not like we say eye base is a condition for seeing. There cannot be seeing without eye base. But we don't say that there, in all circumstances, chittas in the mind door cannot arise without a base, because in this realm, no base at all. And in the second point you mentioned, some people, when criticizing the Abhidhamma or talking about Hadayawatu, they mention it's not mentioned by name in some texts, like in some Abhidhamma texts, but they refer to that rupa. So by that rupa, it means the Hadaya rupa, but it doesn't matter what name it's called. You had a question, Roti, on the list as you're mentioning, like Ajarn was talking about how the understanding is more and more, deeper and deeper, because what is to be understood is more and more subtle, and also about how the development of understanding is harder and harder, or more and more difficult, and you were asking about that. So his question, or the point that was being discussed, is while it's apparent that the understanding must be deeper and deeper because more and more subtle dhammas are understood, I think what is meant by saying that it's harder and harder or more and more difficult, does this just mean because what is to be known is more and more subtle?
Just like now, what do you see?
Visible object.
Really? To be truthful.
Well, in reality, there's what it's being seen is visible object, but I still I have no satipatthana, so I cannot see well, right? Or what? Right? See well, right?
The visible object does not appear well.
Does not appear well, correct?
It can appear well only to the highly developed panya. That's why each time there is seeing, when one is so truthful, it's not moment of understanding visible object as just visible object. No one there at all. This is the answer. Deeper and deeper.
But is it also harder, or is only deeper? Also harder?
When it's deep, is it hard to get or to understand? When it's so shallow, it's not very hard to understand.
Right.
I was so impressed a long time ago when we were talking, and Anne was also participating in this discussion, that the Dhamma becomes more and more difficult when Panya is more developed. And I was so impressed by this.
That is the way to understand the word of the Buddha. Each word, so very deep, like the word Dhamma, see, includes everything. Whatever is real, it has its own characteristic, not self. Each reality does not have the characteristic of self at all. For example, hardness, how can it belong to anyone? It's just hard here and there. The body or the table, exactly the same. But what is not known is that whatever appears has arisen from conditions and falls away instantly, very, very rapidly, uncountable. Like now, before there can be someone or something, how many moments of seeing? And sanya just marks until it becomes a thing. And now there are so many things.
Ajarn, can you elaborate a little bit more about the appear well? It's just let's say directly experiencing or understand about the characteristic, or directly, what does that mean about the
direct understanding of what appears now. Well, like hardness, like it's not just a little bit of understanding or understanding that now it's hardness touched, but directly understanding, no doubt at all, that what is experienced at this moment is just hardness, just that reality, directly when it appears, not thinking about it afterwards or imagining it, but directly knowing that characteristic.
And I think, as Sarah explained earlier, when we talk about directly experienced, we mean by panya, by awareness and understanding. And what understanding experiences is to do with the characteristic. So there's directly experienced by panya means to know something about the characteristic. Yeah.
And also, how well?
How well?
How much? Deeper and deeper.
It must be in the dark world.
Is that appear well?
Appear well in the dark world.
Not well. When it's in the dark world, it's not well.
I mean, the
dark world means with ignorance. So when it's there's ignorance, it's
I mean
dark.
dark in the visible object.
You mean when there's no seeing, it's dark? Yes. The other meaning of dark
no
world. Yes. You're talking about one meaning, and Ajarn's talking about the other meaning. Both are correct.
Is this on? Yeah. It is, okay. When we talk about it becoming more and more difficult, no problems with that in the conventional sense, but I think it also can imply I have to work harder at it. And that's not the case at all. It's really becomes more and more subtle, deeper and deeper. And being a distance from it, being a long way from it, we think, oh, how difficult. And yet even that thought, oh, how difficult, is very much with self and able to control. So I guess my preference, and it's maybe just me, is to talk about more and more subtle, deeper and deeper, because it doesn't imply effort, or can't be misconstrued as effort.
Is there any moment of direct understanding of what appears now? See how difficult or how hard to get or to understand the truth.
I think the point is that it is more and more difficult, but whatever is said, there's going to be misunderstanding if there is an understanding of dhammas, and that is part of the difficulty and subtlety of the path.
Before hearing the truth about realities, hardness, seeing and visible object, there is always this one at a time. For example, of moment of touching, there is no understanding of, there is no self, which experience. And that which is experienced is not only that which arises and falls away. See, but after hearing uncountable, we don't have to think about how much. It depends on conditions. There can be moment of beginning to understanding that as what is heard, little by little. Not clear yet. That's why even it's the beginning of Patipatti, it's different from just intellectual understanding. And what knows that? Not I, not me, what? Panya, right understanding of what is what as it is. Direct understanding or not direct yet.
Long, oh, he's gone on walkabout.
Long, Mr. Long.
We know he likes to have a wander. I just wanted to mention also, because this is your last session, about internal and external. We also, when we read that text, have to know which aspect and which meaning of internal and external is implied, like when referring to internal and external in Satipatthana Sutta. This is one meaning, referring to one's own citas and other citas. But when referring, like when talking about the ayatanas, to the internal and external dhammas, which you referred to, like eye senses, internal dhamma, visible object is external dhamma, sound is internal, ear senses internal, sound is external, chitta is internal, cetasika is external. This is a different way of looking at internal and external. So it depends on which aspect it is when we're reading the text. So we can't just assume it's always referring to exactly the same meaning when we read words like internal and external.
Thank you. Your original question was about the reference in the Satipatthana Sutta to knowing internally and externally.
I never heard before chitta being internal and cetasika being external. That's the first time. If you'd like to elaborate today, it's okay. If not,
Maybe,
we can do it later.
maybe tomorrow we can discuss more about what is meant by the ayatanas and talk in more detail, because it brings in all these other topics like Hadiyawatu and so on, and what are the internal dhammas and which are the external, and how they meet or associate together. But we can go into more detail. But for example, at a moment of seeing consciousness, there is the meeting or association of different dhammas. Eye sense is an inner ayatana, internal ayatana. The visible object is external. But also at the moment of experiencing, there has to be citta arising, which is inner ayatana, and there have to be the associated cetasikas, which are outer ayatanas. So at that moment of seeing, there have to be the coming together of many different internal and external dhammas. And again, like Mr. Sun said, this is just to show how there are different dhammas coming together by different conditions. No self who can make seeing arise or make anything arise. But we can discuss it
it
more
was
in
only
detail.
the thing about chitta and cetasika.
And chitta
now I
is,
kind of understand.
sometimes we hear or read about chitta as being the most innermost nama.
I would have
And
assumed that cetasika was also internal, but
this is why we have a lot of assumptions, and even when we read, we can read with our assumptions, and that's why, as Ajarn says, we have to consider each word carefully. So even a word like internal, external, we have to read very carefully and depending on context and so on.
because
but it's
chitta
all
and
coming,
cetasika always arise together. That's
yes,
why. Yeah.
yes. But it all comes back to this moment.
Mr. Long has the question. He's asking if all cetasikas are external.
When we're talking about the ayatanas, so now we're not talking about the reference in the Satipatthana Sutta, we're talking about the ayatanas, the 12 ayatanas, and in this, when talking about the ayatanas, all the cetasikas are external ayatanas.
Thank you.
Nina, I think, wants to say something.
But don't forget that the ayatana is at this moment. So when you are wandering again, it takes you again away from the present moment.
Just about, for example, the moment of seeing now and the various dhammas that are associated together. And
when we say that come back to the moment, it's all a lot of time. It's thinking about something already past. Just because we moment now is seeing, but not really seeing. When we talk, come back to moment now, all a lot of time is thinking about something of the past and
dreaming about, longing for, attached to what's gone, fallen away already.
Yeah.
Wishing for visible object that's already gone, wishing for sound that's gone. So, and that's life.
Almost thinking.
This is why there cannot be awareness by focusing on what we take to be the present visible object, because it's gone already. But if there are conditions for awareness to arise, then it experiences with panya the actual presently arising reality.
And this is why the Buddha said, don't dream or think so much about the past, and don't dream about the future and what will happen when there's this or this invention in the future. What about now, understanding now? It all comes back to this moment.
But even when you think again that now is past already, we still understand when Ajarn reminds us it's not seeing now. It's simple, and we make it really more difficult than it is.
Yes.
This is the nature of papancha, lobha, ditthi, mana, to complicate all the time. But even at those moments of thinking about what will happen when Siri does this or this or this, even the moment of thinking or dreaming about the experience we had yesterday, even then there can be understanding right now, because even that thinking is real, the doubt is real, the regret is real, seeing is real, whatever appears now.
So that means to when we talk, when we remind, come back to right now, that means the thinking, the approaching about the characteristic of the moment, right? Thinking is that appear like the thinking.
If there is I'm not saying this is what you're suggesting, but if there is the idea that there should be thinking about the characteristic of reality now, this is the wrong way, because this is the idea of I should do, I should think. It's not understanding of whatever appears very naturally. It's trying to get rid of something we don't like and trying to force understanding now by thinking in a special way. So understanding now doesn't mean trying to focus on what is present now. This is the subtlety of the path.
So to come back to the moment now is a condition for because we already listen to Dhamma and the reminder come back to the moment to the.
It's not a matter of coming back to whether or not we've ever heard about the Dhamma or not. There only ever is the present moment. So if seeing is conditioned now, that's the present moment. It's not a matter of coming back to it. If thinking now is conditioned or wrong view is conditioned now, that's life at this moment. So nothing to do. If there's an idea of I should come back to wrong view now or understanding now, then it's the idea of I can focus or be aware. So life is just at this moment, regardless of whether it's known or not.
Because so something impossible to come back to the moment right now. Because it's, I feel, I know everything parts.
Forget about trying to come back to anything. Just let understanding develop very naturally of whatever appears.
Use the microphone, sir.
I have done today.
I have done today.
Be known to my parents. To those to whom I owe gratitude, both in this life and in past lives, to relatives and friends, including Kundung Dun's mother, who built this house, and to all beings in other realms. May they all rejoice in these kusala deeds. And just to mention, tomorrow, because there was some discussion, but the discussions will take place as scheduled in the foundation, in the main hall tomorrow, 10 to 12 and 2 to 4, and I believe lunch is provided there. The facilities and a better, more convenient, and everything's been arranged. So we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.